So the other day I talked about the fact that Donald Trump's super PACs, his Make America Great Again Incorporated, and of course his Save America PAC, are almost out of money. And according to a report from Bloomberg, they're on track based on what's coming in versus what's going out. If all stays constant, they will be bankrupt by July. So Trump's campaigns will be out of money because he's blown nearly all of it on his legal fees. But there's another part to it. The other part is that Donald Trump now has legal judgments against him for hundreds of millions of dollars. So his super PACs going bankrupt are not even his biggest problem. His biggest problem is that he personally might also have to file for bankruptcy before this year's election. And that brings me to the final question of this Q&A. This is from Pedro de Paca 57, who asks, "Hope you have a good break. I'd like to know if the Orange Oompa Loompa goes bankrupt, can he run, and if he wins, become the president?" Well, the answer is yes, obviously, to that. Obviously, there's no financial requirements on who can be president. You know, you could be completely penniless and still win and serve as president. You know, your financial situation has no bearing on winning the election, which is a good thing. We don't want that. We don't want only billionaires being able to run. But could Trump be penniless by the time we have the November election? Maybe. It just depends on what he has in fluid assets, which obviously with the New York fraud trial ruling, we're going to find that out pretty soon. You know, he's ordered to pay a lot of money. And the court, as this thing kind of fleshes out, you know, it's obviously fairly new, they're going to have to go through all of his assets. They're going to have to figure out, does he have enough cash to pay this? Do we have to seize some of his assets and sell them off to pay the fine? He still owes E. Jean Carroll now $88 million. And if he wants to appeal either of these things, he has to put a decent percentage of that in an escrow account. So he has to have at least some of the cash on hand to do it. And if he doesn't, he has to start selling properties, assuming the court doesn't seize them from him and sell them off for well below what they're worth in the meantime. Donald Trump is only successful in politics because of the billions of dollars he amassed, both in cash and in, you know, just general net worth through his businesses. So if we go into this election and Donald Trump suddenly becomes a guy that has nothing, what does that do to his base, right? What does that do to the people who've looked at him and said, now there's a man's man. There's a man who can make $1 selling a ketchup popsicle to a lady in white gloves. What if he loses it all? Then what? I know plenty of them will say, well, it's because they took everything from him. He sacrificed everything. I love him so much. But there's going to be plenty who look at him and say, well, wait a minute. There's only a couple $100 million. He's allegedly worth billions. Well, why can't he just pay it? Obviously, he lied about how much he had. So the courts were right. So this guy's just a total fraud. There will be so many people having that realization. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be plenty that say, oh, well, they took it all from him. I feel so bad. Give him the presidency. But those are people who would vote for him anyway. If he ends up having to file for bankruptcy, if he loses everything from his super PACs and from his personal bank account, I don't think there's a chance in hell that he could win the election. And to be honest, there's a somewhat decent chance that that is the scenario we're looking at within just a few months.